You meal prep every Sunday. You walk 15 minutes to the cheaper bus stop. You buy the store brand of everything without checking whether it lasts. You have not replaced your work bag in 3 years because spending money on yourself feels irresponsible. You feel like you are doing everything correctly. So why does your bank balance look identical to what it looked like 18 months ago? His name is David Mensa. He lives in Manchester, England. He earns £42,000 a year, a reasonable salary by any measure. David reads every personal finance article he can find. He clips digital coupons. He refuses to pay for anything he believes he can do himself. He has not invested a single pound because the market feels too risky. He keeps everything in a standard savings account because that feels safe. David is not building wealth. He is losing it, slowly, systematically, through habits that feel virtuous but are mathematically destructive.
If you have ever felt disciplined with money but still felt broke, subscribe to Smart Investment with Professor Cole. What I am about to show you changes how you evaluate every financial decision you will ever make. David needed a new work bag. There was one for 18 pounds and one for 75. He bought the 18-pound bag. It split at the handle inside 4 months. He bought another. 5 months later, the zip failed. By the end of the year, he had spent 54 pounds on bags and was shopping for a fourth. His colleague Priya bought the 75-pound bag at the same time. She is still using it. Her annual cost £37 and 50 pence, half what David spent, and she has a bag that works. This is the Boots theory of socioeconomic unfairness, first articulated by Terry Pratchett. It applies to every category: cheap cookware that warps, cheap tires that wear unevenly, cheap electronics that fail outside the return window. The metric that actually determines value is not price. It is cost per use. A 90-pound jacket worn 180 times costs 50 pence per wear. A 25-pound jacket worn 12 times before it pills and loses shape costs £2 8 pence per wear. The expensive jacket is more than 4 times cheaper in practice. Before every purchase above £20, ask one question. How many times will I realistically use this? And what is the cost per use? That single reframe eliminates most of the damage that cheap buying creates. Using a voucher for something already on your shopping list is smart. Buying something you were not going to buy because you have a voucher for it is a net loss disguised as a saving. David spent 3 hours every week finding discount codes, organizing them, and planning his shopping around them. He saved an average of £32 a week on his grocery shop. But he also bought items that expired unused, bulk condiments, multi-pack snacks his household never finished, promotional items that felt too cheap to ignore. A 2025 study found that households actively coupon and buy cheap brands waste more food than households that do not. The overbuying drives waste. The waste erases the saving. The average UK household throws away approximately £550 worth of food annually. If your voucher habit saves you £28 per week but generates £15 of food waste, your real saving is £13 for 3 hours of effort. That is $4.33 per hour. You would earn more delivering parcels. Use vouchers only for items already written on your list before you open the app.
David drives 8 minutes past his nearest petrol station to save 4 pence per liter. On a 45-liter fill, the saving is £1.80. The round-trip detour adds 5 miles to his journey. At HMRC's approved mileage rate of 45 pence per mile for the first 10,000 miles, those 5 miles cost £2.25 in vehicle operating costs. He spent £2.25 to save £1.80. He lost 45 pence and 12 minutes of his day. This arithmetic applies to every drive further to save a little decision. The saving must exceed the true cost of reaching it, including fuel, vehicle wear, and the value of your time. Most people never run this calculation because the saving feels visible and the cost feels invisible. David spends 2 hours every Saturday maintaining his garden rather than paying a local service £40 per month. He spends 9 hours completing his own self-assessment tax return instead of paying an accountant £180 for a 2-hour appointment that might find deductions he would miss entirely. Time has a pound value. David earns £42,000 per year working roughly 1,800 hours. His time is worth approximately £23 per hour. Every hour he spends on a task he could pay someone less than £23 to handle is a net financial loss. The 9 hours on the tax return cost him £207 of his time, more than the accountant charges, before accounting for any deductions found. This is not about outsourcing your life. It is about being honest about which tasks you are doing from genuine preference and which you are doing because paying someone feels wasteful. Sometimes the most wasteful thing you can do is spend 4 hours saving 15 pounds.
This is the habit that sounds most responsible and causes the most long-term financial damage. David transfers money into his standard Barclays savings account every month. The balance grows. He feels responsible. He is saving. That is what sensible adults do. The average standard savings account in the UK currently pays approximately 0.2% interest. Inflation in the UK ran at 2.6% in early 2026, according to the Office for National Statistics. If your savings account earns 0.2% and inflation runs at 2.6%, your money is losing approximately 2.4% of its purchasing power every year. £10,000 in a standard account today will buy you approximately £9,760 worth of goods next year. In a decade, it buys you roughly £7,900 worth. Your money is shrinking while appearing to grow. An emergency fund in a high-yield account is essential. 3 to 6 months of essential expenses, accessible and liquid. That is correct and important. But every pound sitting beyond that emergency fund in a 0.2% account instead of being invested is a pound actively losing value. The S&P 500 has returned an average of approximately 10% annually over the long term. Even adjusted for inflation, that is roughly 7% real growth. £10,000 invested in a low-cost index fund for 30 years becomes approximately £76,000. The same £10,000 in a standard savings account becomes approximately £11,000, which after inflation is worth less than you started with in real terms. David does his monthly shop at a warehouse store. The per-unit prices are genuinely lower. He buys a 2-kilogram bag of spinach because it costs less per 100 grams than the smaller bag. His household eats about 400 grams before the rest deteriorates. He did not save money on spinach. He spent more and received less. A bulk purchase only saves money if you consume every unit. If you waste 20% of a bulk purchase, the typical per unit saving of 27% drops to an effective saving of 7%. Waste 30% and you are paying more than the standard price. Buy in bulk only for non-perishable items your household uses at a consistent, predictable rate. Washing powder, toilet rolls, tin goods. For perishable food, buy only what will be consumed within its shelf life. A smaller quantity fully used is always cheaper than a larger quantity partially wasted. David's boiler was due its annual service. It costs £85. He pushed it back 6 months, then another 4. The heat exchanger corroded because of undetected sediment buildup. The repair quote, £1,200. He did not save £85. He incurred a £1,115 loss. The same logic applies to dental checkups, car servicing, gutter clearing, and appliance maintenance. A £90 dental appointment prevents a £2,000 root canal. A £60 car service prevents an £800 engine repair. The preventative to reactive cost ratio across healthcare, automotive, and home maintenance consistently runs between 3 to 1 and 10 to 1. People who skip maintenance are building a debt of deferred costs that compounds silently until the failure happens, and then it arrives all at once.
Drop a comment right now. Tell me where you are watching from. We read every single one. Stay with me because the next habits are the ones most people defend the hardest and the ones the arithmetic destroys most completely. David refuses credit cards. He pays cash for everything because he worries about overspending. For someone with compulsive spending behavior, the physical constraint of cash can help. For most people, this approach quietly surrenders hundreds of pounds annually. A responsible credit card user, someone who pays their balance in full every month, can earn between 1 and 3% cash back on all spending. On annual household spending of £24,000, that is between £240 and £720 per year in cashback or travel rewards, simply surrendered voluntarily. Beyond rewards, credit cards provide purchase protection, extended warranties, and the right to dispute charges. If David buys a defective appliance with cash and the retailer refuses to help, he has no recourse. The same purchase on a credit card gives him chargeback rights through his bank. A credit card paid in full every month costs nothing in interest and earns meaningful rewards. The risk is carrying a balance at high APR. Fix the behavior and the tool becomes a genuine financial asset.
David has 4,000 pounds of credit card debt at 22% APR and 6,000 pounds in a savings account earning 3.8%. He makes the minimum payment on the card and feels secure because the savings balance is there. The arithmetic on this arrangement is brutal. His credit card is costing him approximately 880 pounds per year in interest. His savings account is earning him approximately 228 pounds. His net cost of this arrangement is 652 pounds annually. He is paying 652 pounds per year for the psychological comfort of seeing a savings balance. If David used 3,000 pounds of those savings to reduce the credit card balance to 1,000, his annual interest cost falls to approximately $220. He still has 3,000 pounds for emergencies. His net position improves by more than $400 immediately. Keep enough liquid savings for genuine emergencies, 1 to 2 months of essential expenses, then aggressively pay down any debt above 7 or 8% interest. Once the high interest debt is gone, rebuild the full emergency fund. The order matters because debt interest compounds against you faster than savings interest compounds for you.
David has never invested. Markets feel unpredictable. He could lose everything. He will invest when things feel more stable. Markets have never felt stable at any point in history. Volatility is permanent. Waiting for stability is waiting for something that does not exist. The S&P 500 has produced a negative annual return approximately 26% of the time historically, but over any rolling 20-year period in its entire history, it has never produced a negative total return. Over 30-year periods, the worst annualized return was still approximately 8%. Sitting outside the market to avoid a potential 20% decline means missing the recoveries, which historically happen faster and more forcefully than the declines themselves. Missing the 10 best trading days in a 20-year period can cut your total return by more than half. Market timing requires you to be right twice, getting out before the drop and back in before the recovery. Professional fund managers with entire research teams cannot do this consistently. David keeping 40,000 pounds in savings accounts from age 30 to 65 instead of investing in a diversified index fund forgoes approximately 320,000 pounds in growth. The safety of cash costs him a retirement.
David replastered a wall in his kitchen to save 220 pounds. It took 3 weekends, cracked within 8 months, and a professional charged him 340 pounds to fix the original work and his repair. He painted his own bathroom ceiling to save 150 pounds. The drips and patches meant repainting 12 months later, another weekend of his time plus materials. There is a real difference between DIY work you have the genuine skill and tools to execute well, and DIY work you attempt because paying a professional feels extravagant. The first saves real money. The second creates costs that exceed the professional's fee, plus the cost of the mistake, plus the value of the time spent making it. Before attempting any skilled task yourself, ask honestly, have I done this specific task before and done it well? If the answer is no, get a professional quote and include the realistic cost of getting it wrong, materials, time, and the professional you will likely need afterwards anyway. David packs his lunch every day to save 8 pounds. Genuinely smart. But he also skips the teen lunch his manager organizes quarterly because it costs 16 pounds. At the last one, a colleague mentioned an internal role that pays $9,000 more than David's current position. David was not there. He declined the industry conference because registration was 220 pounds. 2 people at that conference were going to connect him with a hiring manager in his field. He refused to buy a $45 online course on data analysis skills his employer has mentioned needing. That skill would have supported a case for a higher band. Frugality becomes destructive when it prevents investment in your own earning capacity. Your income is your largest wealth-building asset. The difference between earning 42,000 and 54,000 pounds over a 35-year career, a gap often closed by one skill upgrade or one professional connection, is 420,000 pounds in lifetime earnings before investment returns. Spending a few £100 per year on professional development and career-adjacent opportunities is not an expense. It is the highest return investment available to most working adults. Every single habit on this list is driven by the same root cause, a focus on the visible cost instead of the total cost. The visible cost is the number on the price tag. The total cost includes the price tag plus the waste, the replacement frequency, the time invested, the opportunity cost, the earning potential forfeited, the purchasing power lost to inflation, and the compounding that was sacrificed. The visible cost is what you see at the checkout. The total cost is what you see at 65 when you look at your retirement account and wonder why decades of saving money did not translate into having money.
David's habits feel responsible. They feel disciplined. They feel exactly like what a sensible person should do. And they are quietly costing him more than any single large financial mistake ever could, because they repeat every week, every month, every year, compounding in the wrong direction the entire time. The shift from visible cost thinking to total cost thinking is the single most valuable financial upgrade available to any person, regardless of income. Once you see the total cost, you cannot unsee it. And once you cannot unsee it, the decisions that follow change everything.